नमस्कार, मैं मुनमुन आप सभी का तहे दिल से स्वागत करती हूँ। A warm and hearty welcome to all of you on the auspicious occasion of first Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Lecture. सबसे पहले मैं सभी से ये आग्रह करूंगी कि अपना अपना मोबाइल साइलेंट मोड में कर ले प्लीज. And people who have joined online, they are also requested to keep them in mute mode. ये हमारी एक छोटा सा गुजारिश है आप लोगों से.
A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Shangjukta, welcome you to the curtain raiser of Platinum Jubilee celebration and the first Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Lecture organized by CSIR, Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute, Kolkata.
Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, whose guidance helped CSIR achieve its goals, always believed that science is the driving spirit of the modern age and that it could help solve problems like hunger, poverty, and illiteracy. Nehru's vision for CSIR was to combine the past, present, and future, and to have both continuity and change. CGCRI was among the first 4 labs of CSIR formally established on 26 August 1950. Platinum Jubilee. यानी 75 साल की लंबी यात्रा. नॉट अ जोक. वक्त है इस मोड़ को रुक कर कुछ पीछे देखने का और आगे का रास्ता कैसा हो ये तय करने का, ये सोचने का वक्त है. वक्त है ये आत्म मंथन का कि हमने क्या खोया, क्या पाया, क्या क्या पाना था जो हमने हासिल नहीं किया और उसके कारण क्या थे और क्या था निदान. अपनी कमियों से उबर कर खूबियों को निखरने का वक्त है. Today, we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Professor of Practice, IIT Madras, former Vice President Tata Steel Limited. Thank you, sir. We have with us Dr. H.S. Maiti, former Director, CSIR-CGCRI. Thank you, sir.
We will be commemorating the glorious 75 years of CGCRI with various activities, including a series of lectures by eminent speakers from academia and industry. To start the celebration with today's program, may I request Dr. Vamsi Krishna Balla, Chief Scientist and Chairman, Platinum Jubilee Celebration Committee, to accompany the distinguished speaker, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, our former director, Dr. H.S. Maiti, our director, Professor Bikramjit Basu, to kindly take their seats on the dais. We will be welcoming our dignitaries with flower bouquets. I would request our student Sreyoshi to present the bouquet to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya. I would request our student Shanti to present the bouquet to our mentor, Dr. H.S. Maiti. I would request Shreyoshi to present the bouquet to our director, Professor Bikramjit Basu. I would request Shanti to present the bouquet to Dr. Vamsi Krishna Balla.
थैंक यू सर। हमारी ये संस्कृति है कि हम कोई भी शुभ कार्य का प्रारंभ दीप प्रज्वलन के साथ करते हैं, इसलिए अब वक्त है दीप प्रज्वलन का, और ताकि हम दीप प्रज्वलित कर फॉर्मली इस प्लैटिनम जुबली की शुरुआत कर सके, तो मैं यहाँ पे आग्रह करूंगी हमारे डायरेक्टर और सभी विशिष्ट जनों का कि सर आइए दीप प्रज्वलित कर कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करते हैं।
We are happy to share that we have received overwhelming response through video messages from our well-wishers. So our program will be a little bit extended. Please bear with us. May I now request Dr. Vamshi Krishna Balla to say a few words about the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of CGCRI.
Good afternoon to all of you. Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Professor of Practice, IIT Madras. Dr. H.S. Maiti, former Director, CSIR-CGCRI. Professor Bikramjit Batu, our current Director, CSIR-CGCRI. Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director, CSIR-IMMT. And Dr. Kamal Das Gupta, our former Director of this institute. Other dignitaries present in this auditorium and those who are present online, I welcome you all on my personal behalf and also my colleagues, students, staff of this institute for this inaugural event of CSIR-CGCRI Platinum Jubilee celebrations. I feel personally privileged to be a part of this celebration, and we all take pride in celebrating this memorable milestone of our institute, completing 75 glorious years of excellence and service to the nation through diverse events spread across next 7 to 8 months. So here I will briefly show what are the events which we are planning to organize in the next 8 months, which have spread across different focuses. As you can see, the first event, we have a Platinum Jubilee lecture series. In that, we have 3 different categories. The first one is Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Speaker. Today we have one. Similarly, Platinum Jubilee Speakers and also Platinum Jubilee Visitor. Especially the visitor will spend 2 to 3 days in our institute, interact with our people, visit our facilities, and also have one-to-one interaction with both students and scientists so that we can forge future collaborations. And we have one big international event, International Congress on Glass, ICG 2025, which is scheduled on January 20 to 24. And similarly, we have two more national seminars. One is in February, the other one is in June. And apart from that, we have a special event on Nari Shakti to highlight the contributions of women towards science and technology, both from CSIR and other labs. We will honor them and then have a full day event on that. In addition to that, we also have a Green Conclave sometime in July, which focuses on hydrogen economy and India's contribution towards sustainable energy throughout the globe. And we have one focused event for students, which is Glamix Fiesta 2025, where we have a student showcase their research activities or research progress, research work in this institute. And our outreach centers, both Kurja and Naroda, also have two programs, especially skill development to upgrade the technical skills of the artisans for their financial growth as well. And as we have been doing Jigyasa program, which will be focusing on interacting with school and college students, not only to educate them, but also inspire them to take science and technology as their career. And at the end, we will be organizing a gala concluding event. In that, and also throughout these events, we'll be honoring our CSIR-CGCRI employees who have contributed to bring this institute to this level. So we are starting all these celebrations today with first Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Lecture by Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, who will enlighten us through his talk on translational technology for sustainable future challenges in Indian landscape, which I believe is very apt to all of us to keep our present technology translation excellence and also re-innovate future path ahead. With this, I thank you all for your time today to be a part of our celebrations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for providing a glimpse of the activities that will be taken up to celebrate our Platinum Jubilee. May I now request our director, Professor Bikramjit Basu, to deliver the opening remarks on the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of CGCRI. Sir, please.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Dr. H.S. Maiti, former Director, CSIR-CGCRI. Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Speaker. Dr. Vamsi Bala, Platinum Jubilee Committee Convener. Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, my good friend and Director of CSIR-IMMT Bhubaneswar. Scientists, technical officers, administrative staff, technicians, all employees of CSIR-CGCRI, and also its extension centers based in Khurja and Naroda, young researchers, students, ladies and gentlemen, and friends who joined us online from different CSR labs. It's indeed a defining moment in my life as I welcome all of you to this momentous occasion as CSIR-CGCRI is going to celebrate Platinum Jubilee. Any such celebrations in the history of an institute is very important. I know it personally because I'm a graduate of Catholic University Leuven, Belgium, and this university is now celebrating 600 years of its existence. It was established in 1425. So this is something very, very momentous occasion in part of any institute. And I would like to congratulate each one of you, all the scientists, staff, and employees of this institute for their continuous service to the growth of this institute. At this juncture, I express my sincere gratitude to the President of CSIR and Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, Vice President of CSIR and Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Art Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, and the Director General of CSIR and Secretary DSIR, Ministry of Science and Technology, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi ji, for their unwavering support and guidance to the growth of CSIR-CGCRI. Now, let me quickly go through some of the slides. This presentation is essentially based on a little bit of the historical perspective of this institute, and also largely on my vision and my dream as this institute will take its challenges in the next 25 years and beyond. So the title of my presentation is Emerging Innovation Ecosystem in Ceramics and Glass for Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is Self-Reliant India. So as many of you know, but some of my friends are also from Bangalore. Dr. Kaushik Chatterjee is here. So if you look at that history of CSIR, that 1902 Board of Scientific Advice, that is in a pre-independence period, was established, and that is followed by 1935 Industrial Intelligence and Research Bureau, and then in 1940, Board of Scientific and Industrial Research was established with office at the Government Test House in Alipur in Calcutta in 1st April 1940. And since the birth of CSIR, as Mrs. Munmun Gupta mentioned by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in the year 1945, the foundation stone of this institute was laid by the Honorable Sir Ardesir Dalal, member of Planning and Development, Viceroy's Executive Council, in the presence of a large number of administrators and industrialists from Calcutta. As has been told in the very beginning, that CGCRI, Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute, is one of the first 4 CSIR labs which were established in this country. And it is also one of the popularly known as Bhatnagar 11 in the CSIR family. Since its establishment and then subsequently it was inaugurated, there's a news article which came in the Nature in March 1947. And the major message that was mentioned in this Nature article, that there are few fields of industrial development in which scientific investigation has played during the last 25 or 30 years such a decisive part as in the glass and ceramic industries. Whereas in those industries, spectacular developments have taken place in the industrially advanced countries of Europe and America. Conditions in India have remained comparatively static, although under the stress of war, there has been some expansion. Another function of the institute will be to serve as a central organization for the testing, grading, and standardization of glass and ceramic raw materials and finished articles. Since then, CSIR-CGCRI has contributed significantly to science, technology, and innovation landscape of advanced materials broadly, and ceramics and glass in particular, over 75 years of its glorious service to India. This Dr. Bidhan Chandra Rai, Bharat Ratna, who was the then Chief Minister of West Bengal, officially opened CSIR-CGCRI to the service of the nation on August 26, 1950. And that was the reason when I took over as director of this institute I kept it to myself a promise that this institute must celebrate the Platinum Jubilee with its grand finale will be on August 26, 2025. And I'm extremely thankful to all of my colleagues that they agreed to my proposal. And as you can see, Dr. Vamsi Balla just presented a few minutes ago, we have already lined up several of such events. And this kind of planning is only possible because of the unconditional support that I have received from all the quarters of CSIR-CGCRI. Thank you very much. Now, CSIR-CGCRI is known as an institute of global importance. And as I said, it is in the service to nation since August 26, 1950. Its core strength is that it is the only national lab in India with core competency on a spectrum of traditional ceramics to engineering ceramics like fiber optics, fuel cells, bioceramics, ceramic membranes, sensors, and glasses. It has many decades of significant contributions to the growth of strategic and private stakeholders and collaborations with academia. Many industries globally seek ceramics and glasses, and it has certainly relevance to United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals, and it has also contributed to the society in terms of the skill development programs, pottery, vitreous silica, whiteware, bone china, etc. In terms of numbers, it has 319 full-time employees, including 89 scientists, and also 21 women scientists. It has 2 extension centers in Naroda and Kujra, as I have mentioned. In 23-24, it was overall funding was around 120 crore, with 17% from industrial and government-funded projects. At this juncture, I would also like to acknowledge all the former directors of this institute who has given leadership over last 75 years. And we are very happy to have here with us Dr. H.S. Maiti and Sri Kamal Dasgupta here in this audience. This is kind of spectrum of CSIR-CGCRI's niche technologies. So as many of you are aware of its contributions to the strategic sector in terms of the glasses for Department of Atomic Energy, for nuclear waste immobilization, as well as radiation shielding window glasses, societal for ceramic membranes for water filtration, where one can bring down the iron and arsenic level much below than what is the WHO standards. It has also significantly contributed to the development of technologies related to the healthcare, whether it is related to the fiber optics-based technologies or bioceramic implants or total hip joint replacement and so on. And also currently, it has really caused significant enthusiasm in the national landscape because of its programs in the field of energy. It has also collaborated and contributed to different government sectors and multinational corporates and MSMEs, as has been mentioned in these particular slides. So being from academia, I was also interested to know that there are many students who have done PhD from CSIR-CGCRI. And if you can see, there are some numbers which are being plotted. But more important for the young PhD students and researchers to note that many of our alumni is currently in very significant positions in their life, like Dr. Shantanu Mondal at Carbonundum Universal Limited as Associate Vice President, Head R&D. Then Dr. Amitabh Patra is currently Director of Ministry of Nanoscience and Technology, Mohali. Then there are also alumni who is now professors in NIT Rourkela, as well as some of them are in China or in other parts of the world. The mission of this institute is to position CSIR-CGCRI as a world-leading institute in ceramics, glass, and advanced materials, while accelerating innovation in transformative technologies to deliver positive economic and societal impact for India. Now, this is the vision I have presented on November 8, and at this junction, I would like to reiterate my vision, where what I call is IDEA, where I stands for inspiring next generation scientists and technologies, D stands for delivering to the nation, E stands for engaging with key stakeholders, and A stands for administration. And according to my definition of administration, it is to facilitate excellence in science, technology, and innovation. Now, some of the recent key activities of CSIR-CGCRI over last 42 days. We hosted Parliamentary Standing Committee of Science and Technology and Arts Sciences. They visited us November 21st, and honorable members of Parliament, both from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, they visited. They interacted with the leadership team of CGCRI. They visited few facilities, and they expressed great satisfaction over the STI activities that is going on CSIR-CGCRI. This is the CSIR-CGCRI's participation in the 10th edition of India International Science Festival in IIT Guwahati. This is the visit. I personally visited some of the sister labs like NML Jamshedpur or CMRI Durgapur, as well as NAL Bangalore, National Space Laboratory. Also, some of the companies, particularly Prism Johnson near Indore, I visited when I was attending that IUMRS conference in Indore a few weeks ago. Recent key initiatives that I have taken or I have introduced. So first one is that women in science, technology, and innovation. This is the first time I think that one specific committee was constituted under the leadership of Dr. K. Annapurna, Dr. Atoshi Pal, and Dr. Sayantani Laha. And their objective is to strategize and enhancing women's roles in science, technology, innovation, to create platforms for women in STEM, and to share experiences and collaborate, skill development programs for women empowerment, and establish mentorship opportunities to connecting girls at school level in association with Jigyasa program. And this is very important because this is directly aligned with United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals, that is the gender equality. We have also organized Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention Week during the week of December 3rd to 9th. And then we have invited Professor Kavita Singh, who delivered an important lecture there. And perhaps this is the first time that appropriate oath was administered during my lecture in this particular function. Another important thing, and that I would like to do it much more, and I have just started to engage myself in direct interaction and discussion with technical officers, technical assistants, and technicians. I have spent few hours with all of them separately, and some of the key discussion topics were state-of-the-art workshop, central furnace room, workplace safety, and general welfare of the employees. This is another initiative, that is the safety, security, and disaster management. While this CGCRI, this institute already has separate committees on the safety and security and separately for disaster management, I thought it is time to revisit these committees and also their roles and responsibilities. And what we have done, we have introduced new safety champions, like young scientists from different divisions, and we have put them on board. And safety manual is currently under revision and protocol to be implemented. Building safety audit, I have requested CSIR-CBRI director, and they are sending a team in early January 2025 for the audit of the entire CGCRI building. Internal energy audit of CGCRI, we have one scientist from this BDPD department who has agreed to do that. Safety audit and preparedness, this is the National Institute of Fire and Safety Management, Kolkata. They will conduct safety audit. And then I would like to slowly implement 2% rule at workplace beyond working hours. And we also had a successful fire drilling exercise on 12th December 2024. And many of you are aware that CGCRI has got this first certificate or first prize in recognition to the outstanding innovation and dedication towards the energy efficiency. And this was given, I think, last CSR Foundation Day. Another thing is that engaging with key stakeholders. So what we'd like to do in this Platinum Jubilee celebration year, we'd like to have a very focused conclave, on industry-focused conclave, where we would like to also bring together people or leaders from the strategic sectors, meaning Department of Atomic Energy, ISRO, DRDO, and so on. And this is what we have also discussed at the 88th annual session of Indian Ceramic Society at IIT Madras. DG CSIR is very keen to organize one MSME meeting with the Parliamentary Standing Committee, and she also has requested me just also to be part of this MSME meeting. Other Platinum Jubilee initiatives, CSIR Model Village at Khurja. with the installation of pilot plants of water purification. The second one, I was very impressed when I visited CMRI, and I thought it is time that we should also have similar facility, kind of municipal solid waste processing facility, best practices in STI activities, research and publication ethics, diversity and inclusiveness, theory and computation initiative, like some scientists have started working in the area of molecular dynamics, artificial machine learning, and I would personally like to promote that kind of activities and initiative in CGCRI. Revamping NABL accreditation of testing facilities so that many industries will be benefited when we have NABL accreditation so that they can use it for their certification process of their product and technology. Sustainable ceramic and glass manufacturing with reduced carbon footprint. Currently, some discussion is underway for the glasses that, for reduced carbon footprint, but I would like to engage myself more with such discussion and initiative. What I dream for the next 25 years, Honorable Prime Minister has already mentioned that Vikshit Bharat initiative. Till the time I went abroad as a young PhD student, and so far I was always introduced to the rest of the world that, he's from India, it's a developing nation. But before I die, I would like to see that India is considered as a developed nation. So I'm all with Honorable Prime Minister's Vikshit Bharat initiative, and therefore we need to develop innovation-driven technology development for self-reliant India, and that also needs for us to meet the increasing demands of the strategic sectors like DAE's high temperature mission, reactor mission, or ISRO's requirements. Some of them I would like to mention in the next few slides. Leadership in research programs for sustainable society, and one of the major things, as I mentioned, is the energy, like National Green Hydrogen Mission. What is still not there to very significant extent is the international collaboration with government labs and also more collaboration with academia, and we have taken some initiatives in this direction as well. This is what we discussed in CSIR's Directors Conference, and that is to accelerate innovation entrepreneurship for sustainable economic growth and for global leadership, and which we discussed at the last conference in Mysore. Now, some of the things that is in my mind, and I would like also to CGCRI take leadership in this particular direction, is the mission-oriented program silicon carbide ceramics. This is one of the important non-oxide ceramics which is coming up in a big way, not only for one specific applications, for multiple applications. For example, carbon fiber in silicon carbide, or silicon carbide fiber in silicon carbide for generation 4 nuclear reactor, or a silicon carbide, boron carbide ceramic armors. Ceramic for semiconductor industry, like silicon carbide aluminum nitride, like Applied Materials, Global Foundry, they are in huge need for that. Quantitative process modeling of multifunctional glasses or high entropy ceramics or next generation ceramic. This quantitative process modeling is something that is more into the domain of science, and somehow we sometimes miss that particular aspect in our STI activity. Cross-disciplinary research and cross-divisional research programs. Like, that we need to cross the boundary of individual division. Glass scientists should not think that they should not collaborate significantly with syrup scientists from refractories division. If it is required, they need to work together to develop and to also solve complex technology programs. So scientists should not live within a small domain, within a small silo. Days are gone where we have to collaborate, and we must collaborate among the scientists from different divisions. This is one such examples in the very recent times that CGCRI scientists have developed space-grade optical glasses with high homogeneity. When I mention about high homogeneity, it is a large block where 10 to the power minus 6 homogeneity needs to be achieved with refractive index to be matched in the 3rd decimal point. It's a challenge, and this challenge has been addressed by a group of dedicated glass scientists. I also discussed with Dr. Somnath when I visited Trivandrum a few weeks ago, and this is one of the things that you can see. This is 603606 glass. This is a specific grade of glasses, and where this melting is currently undergoing in the 5-liter induction melting crucible. Dr. Somnath himself expressed his satisfaction, and he would like to see that ISRO scientists can use this kind of a specific glass facility in the clean room, glass melting facility in clean room, even after the program is over, after the collaborating program is over. This is another ceramic material, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, silicon carbide for the Department of Atomic Energy related applications. Like, this is for particularly for the fusion reactor shell, and there silicon carbide based materials with carbon fibers or silicon carbide fibers, which is very important. NAL Bangalore has developed a technology for the pilot scale production of the carbon fibers also. In terms of the frontier technology programs, these are few things that I have listed down, and hopefully that CGCRI scientists will also take lead in many of them, like multifunction glasses with tailored properties for defense, space, and atomic energy applications, machine learning, as I have mentioned before, additive manufacturing of high-performance ceramics with topologically compliant lattice structures for strategic applications. Additive manufacturing, there are many groups, but when it comes to manufacture complex structures and where we need to use the design for manufacturing, this kind of concept, there is a lot of potential challenges. Fiber bracketing-based sensors for chemical and biosensing applications. I'm happy to announce that recently Fiber Optic and Photonics Division has received this funding for the phase 2 from the DRDO, and there the key deliverables include active ytterbium fiber, matched passive fiber FBG pairs, and they have committed that they will deliver output power of more than 2 kilowatt. And that is, DRDO is very, very strict on that. So, and then also 6-to-1 combiners. Many technologies are developed in this institute, and they are at the prototype stage. It is now time to see that, how we can commercialize these technologies. And these are the technologies from Functional Materials Division, like diabetic breath analyzer prototype, neurodiagnostic sensor prototype. I recently visited Indian Institute of Space Technology, and there one of faculty is also shown interest to collaborate more closely with the CGCRI scientists in this direction. There is a technology transfer commitment. This is the TTC of 2030 or 2035, that CSIR's commitment to the country. And under that, we are asked to provide 2 technologies which will commit to the CSIR as well as to the nation. And one of them is for non-invasive magnetoacoustic devices for tissue regeneration cancer regression. This is Dr. Vamsi Bala's program, and then he would involve a lot more scientists in the days to come. So proof of concept has been validated both in vitro and to some extent in vivo in the animal model. And this essentially will combine both magnetic field and the ultrasonic field just for the cancer regression process. The second one from the energy division, that is Dr. Jayanta Mukhopadhyay is currently leading this activity. That is a solid oxide electrolyzer system for green hydrogen. And as you know, this green hydrogen and then hydrogen technologies is a big thing and most relevant in a country like India. And they have developed indigenous SOE single cell, and they have also validated their performances. And this particularly upscaling process is currently under progress, that is roll-to-roll casting. This is something that Dr. Mukhopadhyay's division has also taken, particularly connecting with Indian Institute of Science as well as other companies like HPCL and national labs like ARCI, that is for the SOFC program of the 10 kilowatt prototypes and so on. And this is particularly the technology on the forefront where they are seeking funding from MNRE, as well as they are also committed to work closely with Thermax and Eastern Electrolyzer and in IOCL, etc. Artificial machine learning, this is the research that we have been pursuing at ISC for quite a few years. And this is what I would like to see, that how these kind of activities can grow to more maturity in CGCRI. So essentially, we'll be using both regression-based model as well as a classification-based model. The first one is more for process optimization, and second one is more for predicting the quality of the ceramic components and products or glass products after the processing. And some of the things that we have also collaborated with some companies in India. Now, training the next generation technical manpower, although it does not fall under the direct mandate of CGCRI, but I personally feel that at this Platinum Jubilee, we'll have some programs where we can essentially help, guide, review, revise the undergraduate and postgraduate ceramic engineering curriculum of IITs and NITs. And here, some of the initiatives that CSI has taken, like CSI Diamond Research Entrance Recruitment, that this WAME is not out, but that is under progress. NPTEL courses, which are also very useful for the less endowed institute, and where many IIT professors or ISC professors, they take part in these NPTEL courses. But they can also use CGCRI facility to show that how large volume glass melting can be accomplished in India. And those kind of things are not being shown. It is more like a classroom lectures. Skill development programs also to be strengthened. In IIT BHU, their ceramic engineering department is currently celebrating centenary year. So these 100 years are delivering the plenary lecture, and there I have clearly mentioned that how institute like IIT BHU ceramic engineering will take lead in reviewing and revising this, particularly the academic curriculum. And it is important to bring more quantitative approaches in process science and performance limiting properties of ceramics and glass. Currently, these quantitative approaches are not there. And many of the undergraduate students, when they came to IIT Kanpur to work with me or in ISC Bangalore, I have seen that their knowledge on the advanced engineering ceramics is also limited. It is time to review and revise the century-old syllabus of the ceramic engineering. For example, there is other programs also that we need to introduce, like data science and entrepreneurship. Like I was discussing with Dr. Sivram, who is giving this course at CSIR Kolkata and CSIR Pune. And essentially, this course is more entrepreneurship, and other words, it is how to make money. So these are the courses which is conventionally are not being taught in an academic educational system. The Platinum Jubilee summer internship programs or final year research programs for bright undergraduates, and more collaboration with academia. As a result, you can see Professor Manoj Kumar, who is currently professor and head at Department of Metallurgical Materials Engineering, IIT Roorkee, is currently visiting, and he has interacted very significantly with Advanced Ceramics and Composites Division, as well as the students and research scholars at CSIR-CGCRI. These are CSR-centric programs and national policies like CSR mega mission projects. 3+2+2 means 3 years you have to deliver the proof of concept. Next 2 years prototype. Next 2 years is the commercialization. So this is under discussion, and this will come very soon. Alignment with other sister lab activities. CSI Innovation Center in Kolkata, many of you may be aware that CSR has a land with a plan to start the innovation center. And it is time to think that, how we can steer that. Co-locating CSR facilities in industries and co-locating CSR facilities in academia. These are the things that have not yet matured to that level, but this is also under discussion at the top CSR leadership level. Finally, my dream is to make CSIR-CGCRI as a national hub of ceramics and glass and in India as well as beyond. And here, we'd like to closely work with a collaboration network like CSI Sister Labs, DST DBT institutes, companies, strategic sector that should be strengthened. And here, strategic sectors typically define problems, and we develop high TRL technologies. So what we call is a reactive institute, right? You react to the problems of a strategic sector. But I would like this institute to be transformed as a proactive institute where we develop technologies, industries will come and seek our technologies, and then we'll be transferring the technologies to the industries. International institutes, like I have mentioned in my inaugural address, that Fraunhofer Institute, Germany, their mandate is very close to that of CSIR's mandate. And one of the Fraunhofer Institute, IKTS Dresden, which has many similar overlapping research institutes like CSIR-CGCRI. Professional networking, like there are many professional bodies like American Ceramic Society, for example, as a very important platform to increase the international visibility of CGCRI. I have seen many smaller labs in Spain and Italy. They are globally much more visible than CGCRI, where their total funding, total contributions to the ceramic technologies is much less than CGCRI. But I would like to see that if you go to American Ceramic Society conference or MRS conference or anywhere, if you say CGCRI, then they will say, okay, it is based in Calcutta, right? So it should have that level of visibility globally. So it should also have more interactions with academia and more innovation-driven technologies. And in CSIR language, it should also generate more external cash flow. And that is possible only when we'll have very strong programs and continuous programs with strategic sectors and on the companies on the other hand. Dhanabad, Jai Hind.
It is said that good leaders build good institutions. Outstanding leaders develops institutes that last long. So we are fortunate enough that now CGCRI has got such a dynamic leader. Thank you, sir. और ये हमारा वादा है कि हम जो सपने आप देख रहे हैं उसका हम भरपूर प्रयास करेंगे साथ देने का और हम साथ सपने देखेंगे, साथ उसे साकार करेंगे. Thank you, sir. It is our great pleasure to share few video messages we have received. First, we would like to play the message we have received from the Director General CSIR and Secretary DSIR, Dr. N. Kalai Selvi, on the occasion of Platinum Jubilee celebration of CGCRI.
So, Namaskar, Vanakkam, and pleasant morning to each and every one of you. I'm very happy to learn that the Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute is entering into their Platinum Jubilee celebrations. And I'm more than happy to note that the Institute, especially the new director, Dr. Bikramajit Basu, has planned the celebrations in such a meticulous manner that any guest, any resource person, any expert who is visiting this institute during these Platinum Jubilee celebrations will spend quite a good amount of time, maybe in terms of 1 day or 2 days or even 3 days, depending upon their convenience. They will spend the time with the scientific and the research community in campus. They will try to have closer discussions, mutually getting the ideas as well as, I would say, innovation related ideas exchanged. And this kind of mutual sharing, in my opinion, is a new concept, and this will pave a great way ahead in the coming times. And I wish to congratulate Dr. Bikramajit Basu for this very special and an innovative effort that is getting introduced in CGCRI. And any institute that is entering into Platinum Jubilee celebrations, you will have number of success stories, the technologies, mature technologies, licensed technologies to be remembered and to celebrate it along with the stakeholders, the wide variety of stakeholders. And in my opinion, you will have a greater platform, and you should make use of all the platforms during this 1 year to meet with your stakeholders, get to listen to their feedback, and do they have any upcoming requirements so that you can also leverage your expertise to meet out their requirements. All these points could be discussed during this 1 year time. And I'm being told that an international conference is also going to be held during this period, and that too in CGCRI campus in Kolkata. That itself is a great and a milestone activity, and we are all very proud to have that international event that is going to happen in India after a long gap of around 7 to 10 years. And I should appreciate CGCRI for having tried your level best to get it done in India this time, and in your campus, in your Kolkata campus, this particular year of 2025. And I should appreciate your other campus, especially Kurja campus, is very much now becoming the close to heart campus. Why? Because whomsoever is visiting CSIR, nowadays we are giving the plant in a part, and the part is made out of your Kurja campus only. Therefore, every VIP, every visitor, every delegation, those who are visiting CSIR, they are carrying not only the memories, but also the technology of CSIR in your name, which is CGCRI's ceramic pot technology. So India is known for a number of ceramic and glass-based technologies. And if at all we count the successful technologies and the leading technologies and the potentially impact-making technologies, I would say the major portion is coming out only from this institute, because this institute is very unique in India, especially for the landscape of glass and ceramic related R&D, because of the multidisciplinary expertise that is available in this laboratory and the state-of-art infrastructure that is available in CGCRI Kolkata. And without disappointing the country for any reason, you are living up to the expectations of the country through your contributions and your service to different sectors that include nuclear, space, defense. And these days, you are coming up with technologies, they are finding their relevance with respect to healthcare, water, and energy also. And last year, when Dr. Suman Kumari Mishra was the director of CGCRI, she was able to transfer a great technology to QME. And this SOEC and SOFC technology that finds its relevance under this CSIR's hydrogen mission, that also is a very great success story of CGCRI. This is a recent add-on to your success story repositories. So taking this opportunity, I wish to congratulate and appreciate the former directors and the present director and all the employees who have already contributed to the, I would say, the growth with which now CGCRI is now getting celebrated today. I wish to place on record our sincere thanks and appreciations and congratulations to all the employees in the past as well as in the current date. So I think days are not so far off. Many new scientists and many new technical and supporting staff will also join. And therefore, just start celebrating this Platinum Jubilee year with the available strength and with the upcoming strength. And I'm very glad to note that this Platinum Jubilee celebrations are getting started with the great person, I would say the great CEO or CTO or the business oriented person or a science and technology based great leader from the Tata Group, TSL, my good friend. Debashish ji is there with CGCRI. And I missed the opportunity of being in person with all of you and especially with Debashish Bhattacharya ji on this particular occasion. But I'm extremely thankful and grateful to Debashish ji because you have consented to grace this occasion and to motivate this particular group. So when we just talk about only glass and ceramics, this particular laboratory is now coming up with even their ideas and their expertise and their R&D contributions in terms of other areas like metals, minerals, and materials and nanochemistry and also sensors. And now with the new director who is having a lot of expertise in biomedical instrumentation and healthcare related equipments also. And therefore, this particular laboratory, I'm really hoping that you will get many more value-added R&D areas, new avenues will be created, and you will come up with many more new success stories also, apart from the areas in which you already have shown accomplished and successful stories in terms of technology development. So, friends, make use of the opportunity. Celebrations are not only for just to celebrate, meet, eat, discuss, and go and forget it. It is not that way. Celebrations take a lot more memories and lot more commitments. And they also many times help, especially to the scientific fraternity, to decide upon and to arrive at and to prune and to zero in on what next and what is the way forward and what is the roadmap and what is it that we can commit on this particular day also in the name of this institute. Therefore, now you can make one great, I would say, observation. every 10 years, meaning is decade 1, decade 2, decade 3, 4, 5, 6, like decadal accomplishments you can tabulate, and you yourself can self introspect what is the milestone activity that really tries to tell you out. So try to understand your own success, your own gray areas, and try to fill up the requirements related to the gray area, and as well as to it should be very much relevant to today's as well as the country and the global requirements. Therefore, taking this one liner message that on this Platinum Jubilee celebrations, do this self introspection and come up with some kind of a very strong action plan. And I wish all of you all the very best. Support from CSIR headquarters is always there with you and there for you, and I look forward the day on which I can really come in person and also celebrate some other activity in your campus. Thank you so very much. Wishing the event all the very best. Thank you.
Our heartfelt thanks to Madam for her encouraging words. We are happy to receive a message from our RC chairman, Dr. Ashutosh Sharma, which we will play now.
Namaskar and a very good afternoon to all of you. As the chairman of the Research Council of CSIR-CGCRI, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to the inaugural ceremony of Platinum Jubilee celebrations, which marks a key milestone of 75 glorious years of dedicated service to the nation in scientific research, in technology development and innovation. It is indeed my pleasure to lead a community that is committed to fostering skills, knowledge, and innovations for excellence. I am especially happy to note the new director of CSIR CGCRI, Professor Bikramjit Basu, has invested tremendous efforts to plan various thoughtful events of Platinum Jubilee celebrations. I wish to congratulate the director, Professor Basu, immediate past director, Dr. Subhan Kumari Mishra, and all the past directors and scientific and technical personnel, administrative staff members, research scholars, and the retired staff of this prestigious institute on this auspicious occasion. CSIR Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute is one of the first four labs which were formally inaugurated to serve the nation on August 26, 1950. CGCRI Kolkata has been actively contributing to national science and technology needs and goals, starting with identifying suitable mineral resources for ceramics and glass during its inception years, followed by state-of-the-art glasses for optical and strategic applications, healthcare, water purification, etc. Its outreach centers in Khurja and Naroda are very active in addressing needs of local glass, ceramic tile, and pottery industries. CGCRI is the only national lab in the country with state-of-the-art infrastructure and multidisciplinary expertise in the area of glass and ceramics. Its contributions to specialty glasses for nuclear, space, and photonic applications, reaction bonded ceramics for defense, variety of ceramics for healthcare, water purification, sensors, energy are well recognized by the country. CGCRI has also a strong footprint in IPR portfolio. It has filed more than 50 patents in India as well as abroad during the last 5 years. Also, 48 patents were granted during the same period. CSIR CGCRI has transferred very high value technology in energy and healthcare sectors in recent past. It has a strong collaboration with academia as well as industry in India and abroad. CGCRI will also lead in hydrogen and several other missions in coming years. They have a large spectrum of activities to cater to MSMEs, startups, to large conglomerate. Every year, increasing number of projects collaborative agreements from different government, private organizations, academia shows the credibility of CGCRI in these sectors. Nurturing talent by students in ACSIR in CGCRI is also taking place very categorically to cater to science and technology, human resource development that plays a pivotal role in promotion of science and technology in the country. To commemorate this remarkable milestone, I understand that CGCRI plans to organize several events aiming to showcase their technological contributions and product portfolio to the key stakeholders, strengthen their industry relations, while developing new approaches to accelerate product development and translation through our close engagement with the industry leaders and globally acclaimed scientists from academia and national labs. Notable among them is the theme-based interactive industry conclave, focused to address value of death in technology, development and translation. It involves speakers from industry and strategic sectors, which can be very fruitful indeed. My heartfelt congratulations to Team CSIR CGCRI for carving well thought events benefiting the nation, society, industry, and all other stakeholders. I wish CSIR CGCRI a huge, a grand success in all the endeavors that they undertake. The future looks excellent, it looks bright. Let us all work together to make it happen. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
We have a message from Dr. Shuman Kumari Mishra, Adjunct Professor, IIT Ropar, and our former director on this occasion of Platinum Jubilee celebration of CGCRI.
Namaskar. Very good morning to all of you. I feel privileged to say a few words on the eve of Platinum Jubilee celebration, inauguration function of CSIR-CGCRI, Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute, Calcutta, today. CSIR-CGCRI foundation stone was laid by Sir Ardarsi Dalal on 24th December 1945. CSIR CGCRI is among the first four labs of CSIR. The current building was and the institute was inaugurated on 26 August 1950 by then Chief Minister Dr. Vidhan Chandra Roy in the presence of the host of luminaries such as Dr. Meghnad Saha, Professor C.V. Raman, Dr. S.N. Bose, Dr. Atma Ram, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, Dr. S.S. Bhatnagar, and many others such. So you can see all the doyens of the science of that particular period were present during this inauguration function of this institute. So it is a very blessed institute. I would like to quote from the lecture of Dr. S.S. Bhatnagar on the inauguration of this institute, quote unquote, by Dr. S.S. Bhatnagar. The CSIR realized that glass and ceramic industry of India must be scientifically developed if they have to play the role they must in the onward march of progress and achievement which in our conviction is India's destiny. Every year we import nearly 2 crore rupees worth of glasswares and 7 lakh rupees worth of china ware and porcelain. India manufactures 45 crore rupees worth of glass and 1.31 crores rupees worth of china ware. As India marches along the progressive goal, the demand for these articles is bound to increase considerably, and these industries therefore afford a fertile field for development through the applications in which these items find important use for decorative, protective, utility, and other purposes. This was a quote by Dr. Bhatnagar. I would also like to quote quote and unquote, glass and ceramics have now become part and parcel of civilization. Without glass and ceramic articles, modern science, which has contributed so much to human welfare and has placed enormous resources at man's disposal, would have made little progress. There is hardly any other substance which has contributed so much to the man's knowledge of the universe. It has extended human vision from the macroscopic to the microscopic. But for glass, which has provided the wonderful instrument microscope, many of the present day science and industry would have made little progress, and perhaps the medical science would have become a profession of magician. Astrophysicists would have remained as astrologers. So with this was a quote by Atmaram, Dr. Atmaram. So CSIR CGCRI met the demand of such visionaries even in their beginning years. Within 10 years of its establishment, it showed, it served and catered at the pilot plant scale development of the optical glasses, development of the refractories for the catering to the wars or strategic need of the country and the industry. It had pilot plant that time for both of them, which probably none of the lab of CSI was having this capability. Over the period of 75 years, CGCRI Kolkata, along with its two centers, one at Khurja, UP, and Naroda, Ahmedabad, has repositioned itself with the changing needs of the country and has shown extraordinary resilience with journey. It served the country in terms of providing alternative raw materials, refractories to the many manufacturing and steel industries, aluminum industries, strategic sectors through different development and technology, such as different glass development, to name a few, radiation shielding window glasses for nuclear applications, lasers, optical fiber based glasses and its lasers, optical fiber based sensors, optical glasses for different application of space and other strategic requirement as well as the civil applications, bioactive glasses, bioceramics, membranes, different refractories, different coatings, and many other related field. It has catered and developed the technology, different energies, say solid oxide fuel cell. Now in the hydrogen program, CGCRA is a lead, one of the lead along with the NCA to develop the SOEC cells, and we are the only one lab in the national R&D way who are into SOFC and SOEC business and have catered, given the technology so that it can be upscaled. I feel very fortunate and blessed that Almighty who gave me a chance to serve this institute. This is the Temple of Material Research and the Development of Technology, a very important institute of the nation. As a director to lead this along with my wonderful colleagues of CSIR-CGCRI. I always pray for its vast progress, much higher heights, and wish to see that CGCRI is not an essential part of country only, but to the world through its research and development of technologies and their implementation. With these words, thank you once again. Thanks.
Now we will be sharing the message we have received from Dr. K. Muralidharan, Emeritus Scientist, CMED Thrissur, and our former director on this sublime occasion.
I'm very happy to note that CSIR-CGCRI, the Central Glass and Ceramic Research Institute, Kolkata, is celebrating its Platinum Jubilee year. It's a joyous occasion, and I wish the director and the staff of CGCRI all the very best in this Platinum Jubilee year. I was director of this laboratory in the year 2015 to 2020. It was during that time that the important thing for the laboratory was to attract external funding. And I could do that with my little experience I had with the defense sector. So we could support the three strategy sectors: defense, atomic energy, and the space, by taking projects from them and trying to deliver the best we could in the area of glass and ceramics. I'm sure the laboratory, with its well-established credentials, well-established workforce, and a dynamic leader, Professor Vikramjit Basu has just joined, it will deliver that is what is required for the country in terms of defense, space, and atomic energy establishments and the required hardware. I wish the very best for the laboratory in the Platinum Jubilee year and then onwards. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your warm wishes. Charles Darwin told that it is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. जिन्होंने CGCRI में सबसे ज्यादा चेंज लाया है, so that CGCRI should survive, should achieve, should grow, वो आज हमारे बीच हैं, डॉक्टर HS माइती. मैं उनसे आग्रह करूंगी, सर प्लीज कम फॉर योर इंस्पिरेशनल टॉक.
So good afternoon, friends. I think this audience does not require any introduction of Dr. HS Maiti. Ever since I came back to India in 2001 November, I know Dr. HS Maiti, and it has been absolute pleasure to know him personally more and more as the time passes over last 23 years or so. Dr. HS Maiti's name is synonymous with ceramics and glass in India. So any time I used to speak to peers in India, as many times abroad, and if I say that, my independent research program is in the area of ceramics and glass, the next question I was asked, do you know Dr. Maiti? So ceramics and glass and India is kind of, once again, I'm saying is very much synonymous with Dr. HS Maiti. Such was his stature, such was his contributions, and still it is being felt in India. However, I think that, it is customary to formally introduce him. He has done his Bachelor's of Engineering in Metallurgy from the Bengal Engineering College. That time it was known as, and currently it is IIEST Sipur in 1969, followed by MTech and PhD from Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, IIT Kanpur. His PhD was under the supervision of Professor E.C. Subbarao, another doyen in the field of ceramics. He joined as a lecturer in IIT Kharagpur in 1974 and then became quickly promoted to assistant professor. And after a few years of service, he came to CGCRI as a scientist and later on took over the charge of directorship after Dr. Chaitanya Ganguly. Sometimes people mention that somebody knows the system brick by brick. So Dr. H.S. Maiti knows CGCRI brick by brick. That was his contributions. And as a metallurgist myself, there are three kind of phase transformations that we have learned in the engineering days. One is called annealing, another one that is furnace cooling. Another is called normalizing, that is air cooling. Another third one is called martensitic transformation. So when you drop the steel in the water or a oil, then it turns into martensitic transformation. Dr. Maiti was visionary in a sense that he has brought the changes in this institute, not as a martensitic transformation, but very slow cooling, like more or less like annealing or normalizing, somewhere in between that kind of phase transformation. In his illustrious career, he has received many honors and awards, and many of you are aware of that. He is an elected fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, National Academy of Science in India, that is Allahabad, Nasi Allahabad. He has served on the advisory committee of many institutes like ARCI, MNRE, and many of the institutes. And with this brief introduction, may I request Dr. H.S. Maiti to deliver some inspirational talk in this momentous occasion. Dr. Maiti, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Basu, Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Bhalla, Dr. Ramanuj, other senior scientists of this institute, and some of my old colleagues, students. It's my great pleasure to be back on this podium, and for which I thank Professor Basu, who has invited me to give a so-called inspirational talk. I don't know what it is. First of all, thank you, Dr. Basu, for your good words about my career, about me. I hope you all know the biographical sketch of Professor Basu. It is there in your website. If anybody has not seen it, please go through it. You will be surprised how many prizes and awards and accolades he has received. I think he has received almost everything what could a ceramic or a glass scientist can achieve in his lifetime. He is the only Bhatnagar Prize awardee among all the directors of this institute. He is the fellow of all the national academies and then many of the international academies, many societies, biomedical societies, and so on. I think the list is too big So with this, of course, I must thank Dr. Basu, Professor Basu, for the good words he has told me. And also he mentioned, before that, I think the biographical sketch I was talking about, looking at it, I believe he is the greatest source of inspiration from all the scientists over here. You don't need any other inspiration from anybody else outside. And the way he has understood this institute, planned his way forward in last little more than 1 month, I am really very astonished and happy at how quickly he can grasp the situation, grasp this institute, understood the institute's various aspects and how he is planning to go ahead. My heartfelt congratulations to him for his well-planned approach. He briefly mentioned that during my directorship here, the institute got transformed to a large extent. Yes, those of you may not be knowing, just briefly I'll say that this institute has gone through many ups and downs. Initially, it was one of the great institutes under the leadership of Dr. Atmaram, who actually established one of the, or only one in this country, the so-called pilot plant for optical glass. And it was a separate entity. Its budget was different from this institute. Its recruitment was different from this institute. So it was a separate entity within the institute. Of course, because it was a pilot plant, recognized pilot plant, it has a lot of, it is a labor-intensive activity. And there were a lot of technical staff who cannot be called as glass scientists or glass technologists. That slowly changed the basic culture of this institute. Of course, it has happened in many other institutes as well for different regions. But by the time I took over, this institute was one of the worst performers under the CSIR system. Primarily because there is a huge amount of political influence from outside. And there are a large number of unions and so on and so forth, both in the technical staff, with the technical staff as well as scientific staff. And they were primarily controlling the institute. That was unfortunate. So when I took over, it was also there, but I took a place that it is my duty to change over. Such a great organization, such a great laboratory cannot be allowed to die down. So that was my place, and that gave me enough courage to take many different administrative steps or managerial steps which cannot be thought of at that point of time. The first thing was to introduce the so-called computerized attendance system. It took me a long time to plan for it, and there was a lot of resistance, obviously. But we went forward and established it. So that was the first CSIR lab to have that system. And in my opinion, it was very effective. Very, very effective. Earlier, the attendance was very poor, but with the introduction of this system, everybody remained in the institute for a desired length of time. Another very interesting thing happened. Now as you enter the lab gate, you see there's a concrete board in which the statement is written, "Welcome to a center of excellence." Of course, nobody declared it as a center of excellence, frankly speaking. It was just my idea. And you know what was this board was originally used for? It was used for pasting posters of the trade unions. Earlier, the foyer you entered, it was full of posters, full. Not like the cleanliness you get here. In fact, one of the previous directors said, "Please don't do it. I'll give you a concrete board. You paste your posters, whatever you want to write, you write it there, paste it there." Now, after I took over, I said, "No posters. This board will be used for a separate purpose." And frankly speaking, by that time, the activity died down and everybody accepted it. Well, there are many other things. I don't want to go to the details of that. But not only in the setup, but also in the scientific activity, we introduced many new areas. Some of the old areas were dropped down and new areas were introduced, looking at the future of the ceramic science and technology. I can mention few, like fuel cell and battery divisions were opened. Now it is giving a dividend, I believe, after about 25 years. So that's also a lesson. You introduce something in the research level, and if you want to get dividend from that in terms of technology, you have to work for a long period of time. Sometimes 10 years, sometimes 15 years, sometimes 25 years. At that time, membrane technology also introduced in this country, in this institute. Well, it has already paid some dividend, but I believe we still have a lot of things to do in that area. Sensors and actuators was also another division introduced at that time. I don't know the current situation. At some point of time, DST sponsored us a center of sensors. I don't know, most probably it is no longer there. But it was a good opportunity to take advantage of that. Right. So my point is, when we call it a transformation, we also, it is not an administrative transformation, managerial transformation, but also introduction of many new areas of research. There are still scope for introduction of new research areas, some of which Professor Basu has already mentioned. I'm sure in future such activities will be introduced and grow with time. So that's all I have to share with you. If it is an inspirational talk or not, I do not know. I just share some experience of mine. That's all. Thank you very much.
Dr. Maiti told that Professor Basu is the greatest source of inspiration and you don't need any other inspiration. Sir, this is the guidance that we need from you from time to time. And thank you so much, sir. जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं कि आज हमारे बीच कई सारे विशिष्ट लोग हैं। उनमें से एक हैं डॉक्टर कोमल दास गुप्ता, हमारे फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर CGCRI। तो मैं सर से आग्रह करूंगी कि सर प्लीज कम हियर फॉर सम फ्यू वर्ड्स।
My fellow colleagues, it's really a great occasion. And I feel nostalgic standing over here. In fact, I was not a director in true sense. I kept this institute running for 3 years as an acting director to maintain that at least the activity goes on. I know people, how could I manage that? I really sometimes feel, really it was a difficult period. In that, there was a change in government and new directors are not coming. In fact, that time, Dr. Basu was selected. He came, but because maybe I heard that, I don't know exactly the reasons, that time he was too young to be a director of this big institute. Okay, ultimately he came to the institute. It's really everybody expect that he will put this institute back into track. What I felt from outside, from last few years, whatever I heard from many of my colleagues, activities were getting slowed down. We need a boost, and new director has come, and it is 75 years of experience of these institutes. Actually, it has already passed 75 years, actually. That's the one thing, that it could run for another few years and will come to a greater height. Nothing special from my side to tell, but I always expect that this institute will keep running in that space that it achieved once and come to a certain position. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and gracing the occasion. हमारे बीच डॉक्टर रामानुज नारायण IMMT के डायरेक्टर भी हैं। तो मैं सर से ये आग्रह करूंगी कि सर 2 शब्द के लिए यहाँ आए।
Jai Jagannath and very good evening to all of you. On the dais, For me, three sources of inspiration. I start with Professor H.S. Maiti, who brought me to the PhD program, being the committee member of my SRF selection. Then second one, on who will start the inning of Platinum Jubilee celebration of this institute, and really deserving to be so, that he is one and only person that in engineering, if you are getting FRE, and I am proud that he picked me up from Hyderabad to Jamshedpur. He is my mentor, source of inspiration, and he brought me to the metallurgy and materials field, Professor Devashish Bhattacharya. And the third, another source for inspiration, as Professor Mathi was telling, and I used to know him, but never interacted him. But history will require a person to lead the institution on a right time. So since we are starting Platinum Jubilee, so I must thank the leadership of CSIR, starting from Honorable Prime Minister, Vice President of CSIR, Honorable Minister and DG CSIR, to bring the 100% right person. And today's society needs ceramic. Today's society needs fiberglass. Today's society needs whatever exotic materials, sensors, biomaterials you require. A right leader, Professor Bikramjit Basu, and Balaji, that on whose shoulder that the whole year celebration will be. So on behalf of Forum Team, I wish you all the best, and whatever support is required, we are there in your part of celebration. All the family members of CSIR-CGCRI. What else you require? We are sitting in the historic institute, a unique institution. It has been unique and it will be unique. There is no other institution who can compete and compare with our CSIR-CGCRI. When Professor Bhatnagar was thinking, when Ramaswamy Mudaliar, the two architects of CSIR, was thinking, and then first 4 or 5 things, whatever has to come for the progress of the nation, it was glass and ceramic. So that's why we are first 4, or we can tell first 5 also. Then it is another unique feature that where glass and ceramic manufacturer association take part in formation of this institute. We have progressed, we have contributed a lot, and this is the time when we must remember the whatever we have done in the past. If we are a student of science, we have to build our future on the glory of the past, finding of the past. There will be some good finding, there will be some bad finding, but both are required. कि एक कविता है कि यह जीवन क्या है, निर्झर है, नदी का निर्झर है, मस्ती ही इसका पानी है, सुख दुख के दोनों तीरों से चल रहा राह मनमानी है। जब निचाई नहीं आएगा, ऊंचाई नहीं आएगा, तो आगे कैसे आएगा? तो हमारे पास एक बहुत बड़ा खेवनहार आ गया है. So I wish Bikramjit all the very best. So I don't want to take time. I can also talk many things about CSIR and CSIR-CGCRI. I know the contribution. Sometimes I will come and I will deliver a lecture on the history and future of CGCRI. So thanks for giving this opportunity, and this is the right time to wish my friend Bikramjit all the very best. Let us bring back whatever Maiti ji has put the foundation, and all our Atmaram sir has put the things, and let us, what already you have done a wonderful exercise, and in whatever way bring to the internationalization of this institute. Already nationally we are very, very at higher level. Internationalization in the Platinum Jubilee gift from all the sides. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Jai Hind, Vande Utkal Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and warm wishes. May I now request our director, Professor Bikramjit Basu, to formally introduce today's distinguished speaker to the audience.
That just HDMI again.
So, friends, it's a pride and privilege to introduce today's Platinum Jubilee distinguished speaker, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, whom again I know for more than 2 decades since I came back to India. So when I joined IIT Kanpur, Dr. Bhattacharya is already a big name in industry, particularly in Tata Steel. He is university all-rounder from Jadavpur University. He is the blue boy of Jadavpur University, first class first in metallurgical engineering. After that, he went to Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, to finish his master's. Actually, yesterday, Vamsi was telling me that, do you have his brief CV to introduce him? I told him that I can introduce him even in the middle of the night also. I know him that well. I don't need his CV. So after MTech from IIT Kanpur, he went to University of Cambridge to do his PhD. He has worked in the area of mechanical metallurgy of materials. So after brief postdoctoral stint in Cambridge as well as at University of Birmingham, UK, on the invitation of Dr. Irani, he came back to India, joined Tata Steel, became that youngest head of Tata Steel's R&D and scientific services. He has also spent a number of years in Tata Steel's business in Netherlands. And he came back to India to start a new business, and this time new materials. And that is the new business vertical Tata Steel has developed under his vice presidency. At one time, I think it is a rare thing in Tata Steel that he was vice president of technology, R&D, and new materials. The 3 verticals he was leading, and several thousand people used to report to him at different level in the Tata Steel. So after a long innings in Tata Steel, he is currently serving as professor of practice at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras in Chennai. He has received several honors. He is an elected fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering. He is also visiting professor at Imperial College London in the Department of Mechanical Engineering department, and also similar visiting position in China. The most important, friends, today it's a great pride that this year he has been elected as a fellow of Royal Academy of Engineering, UK. It is taken from this Royal Academy of Engineering UK's website that each year up to 60 fellows are elected to the fellowship, as well as up to 10 international and 5 honorary fellows in recognition of their outstanding and continuous contributions to the profession. They are distinguished by their postnomials FR-Inch and Honorable FR-Inch respectively, and join a community of 1,700 eminent engineers on a mission to use the power of engineering to build a sustainable society and create an inclusive economy that works for everyone. Friends, when I went through the list of the FR-Inch, I found that there are several Nobel laureates, including Stephen Chu from United States, also in that list. From India, I'll just mention few names. These are notable elected fellows from India, and all of you are aware of their stature. Professor M.M. Sharma, Dr. R.A. Mashalkar, former DG CSIR, Professor P. Ramarao, one of the very distinguished leader in the metallurgical profession, and Mr. Ratan Tata. So Mr. Ratan Tata, I think, was honorary fellow, Royal Academy of Engineering. So friends, no Indian from India was elected to the fellow of Royal Academy of Engineering during the last years. And it's indeed a pride moment that this year they elected Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya for this rare honor. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya. So with this brief introduction, I would now request Dr. Bhattacharya to deliver the first distinguished lecture for Platinum Chair.
Thank you. Eventually. Thank you, Professor Basu, for that introduction. I'm humbled. I'm also humbled for your for the invitation that you've extended to me to have the honor of being the first distinguished speaker at the Platinum Jubilee event of this august institution. Dr. Maiti, Mr. Dasgupta, Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Dr. Professor Vikramjit Basu, and the senior colleagues at CGCRI, CSIR, CGCRI, my friends, colleagues of this institution. It's an absolute honor to be here today, and especially at the beginning, at the inauguration of your Platinum Jubilee year. I can't express how grateful I am to this institution, to your director, and how honored I feel to deliver the first lecture. When we were speaking about what to talk on, Professor Basu suggested that I should speak on translational technologies for sustainable future. And I immediately agreed. And this is exactly how it is. It reflects on the pamphlet as well as on the screen. So I will talk about translation and technologies. I will talk about sustainability. I will try and not bore you with a lot of writings on the screen. I will talk to you about certain things that you know. I will talk to you about things that are in the space of dreams. And I will talk to you about how dreams can perhaps be made successful through organization and also through individual endeavor. That's my subject list, which I'm not going to show. Did it move? Yeah. 53 is not the number of slides I have. 53 indicates a state at which the world is today, and it is. Can you see the screen from there? Or am I in the way? 53 indicates a very disconcerting picture of the world that it is today. Do you know what it is? Any guess? I didn't think you would get it. I didn't get it first time either. Now you will get it. 53 is the gigatons of greenhouse gases in carbon dioxide equivalent that the world emitted in 2023. That's the last available figure. And it just shows that every year, in spite of all the pledges by all the countries and organizations, this number has kept on increasing. We are not, in spite of all the efforts that we are putting in to reduce CO2, to have electric vehicles, to have green electricity, GHG emission is going up. And what happens if it keeps on going up? We are in trouble. You know the 1.5 degrees centigrade mark? Are you aware of that? I'm sure you are aware of that. If by 2100, the world temperature crosses 1.5 degrees centigrade increase from industrialization, that is, say, 1750, if it crosses 1.5, we have crossed a hump, as if an activation energy barrier, and the world will keep on getting hotter and hotter and less amenable for humans to live in. Now, we are at 53 gigatons emission, which means a carbon dioxide content of only 420 parts per million. But it also means that to come to 1.5 degree increase by 2100, we have to reduce this emission by 50%. I hope this works. By 50% by 23. So if you have to follow this line, you have to come to from here to here by 2030. Imagine you have to reduce petrol cars by 50%. You have to reduce using of ACs by 50%. You have to reduce coal use in power by 50%. You have to reduce coal use in steel making by 50% by 2030. If you have to follow the curve to 1.5. Ladies and gentlemen, how likely is that going to be? How likely? Is it likely? No, hands up. Is it likely? Nobody believes, except one. Likely. Good luck. We like that positivity. What is, we think, or I think, more likely is to remain at 53, maybe 53, 55, steady at that. And most of us also think that that is also not likely. But suppose that is likely, to remain steady, which is the red line. You land up at plus 3.2 degrees centigrade. It is clearly very difficult for humans to habit the Earth. But, you know, fret not, the world has been hotter before. The carbon dioxide content of the atmosphere was as high as 1600 parts per million. We are only at 400 parts per million. It used to be about 10 degrees hotter than what it is today, let alone 3 degrees. What is 3 degrees? So there were at that time alligators in the Arctic. Alligators were in the Arctic. So the world was habitable, only it was not habitable for humans. So if we don't do anything today to reduce carbon emission by 50% by 2030, this is where we will end up. There'll be definitely comfortable alligators sunbathing in Greenland, but the world will have none of us and none of our progeny. So we need to do something today, right? And the things that we can do today will come from the usual suspects of our activities. And the usual suspects of our activities are transportation, power, which are the carbon dioxide emitters, industry, construction, agriculture, etc. So I'll just choose 2 areas. I'll just choose an area that I am very familiar with, iron and steel. And I'll choose an area that you are very familiar with because everyone sees those things, which is transportation. Right? 8% of man-made CO2, which is 53 gigatons of CO2, 8%, 9% of it comes because of the iron and steel industry worldwide, which is roughly about 5 gigatons per annum. And you can work that out. The world makes roughly 2 billion tons of steel, a footprint of roughly 2.5 tons of CO2 per ton of steel, which means 5 billion tons. 5 billion is 5 gigatons. So for every ton of steel, the world makes about 2.5 tons of CO2. The steel industry is probably a CO2 industry with steel being produced as a byproduct. That cannot continue. I have promised Professor Basu that this landscape of technologies for sustainability will be India focused. So let's look at Indian iron and steel industry. Today, India makes roughly 150 million tons, right? That's at 2.5 tons of CO2 per ton of steel, for 300 million tons of CO2. But 150 million tons is not sufficient for India. India needs to produce about 300 million tons in the future and maybe more. India will produce 300 million tons. The need exists. I mean, there will be some ups and downs. At the moment, we are going through a down, but it will go up. At 300 million tons, you can just do the calculation, there will be roughly around 800 million tons of CO2. And that will be in 2030, 2035. So not only do we have to cap what the emission is today, we have to reduce what the emission will be 10 years from now. And let's get a bit deeper. How do we do that? So there are grading possibilities. And again, this is textbook stuff. All of you will know that. So you can do carbon capture and utilization. You can do carbon capture and sequestration, which is CCU, CCS. You can use hydrogen in the blast furnace. Many people have heard about it. Hydrogen used in the blast furnace. Hands up if you have. More hands are up than before. Or you can use gas-based direct reduced iron, which reduces the need for coal. Or you can use biomass to replace coal. Biomass replaces coal. And because the carbon dioxide that comes out of biomass is in closed loop cycle, it is considered to be green. Right? Now let's look at some numbers. What if you do carbon capture and utilization? Now, you can imagine that you have a blast furnace. Everyone knows a blast furnace, right? Yes. And the blast furnace runs on coke and coal, and it's extremely difficult. There's no technology matured today to replace all that coke and coal. So forget about it. Let's consider the CO2 that's coming out at the top and do something about that CO2. Take it, put it underground, or take it, bottle it, and keep it somewhere. Sorry. It's okay. Or you can take the carbon dioxide. When we were in school, we used to have that experiment: blow air through lime water, and the lime water turns milky. So which means calcium hydroxide is becoming calcium carbonate, and the calcium carbonate fixes carbon dioxide that was coming out of the breath, right? So you can fix carbon dioxide in a chemical compound. Problem solved, or is it? How do you solve the problem of 800 million tons of carbon dioxide? You can't just pass it through lime water and make calcium carbonate. There will be not enough market of that much calcium carbonate in the world. But people don't stop attempting. There's more market for organic compounds than for inorganic compounds. So the easiest organic compound that you can make is methanol, right? That's the least long chain, smallest long chain molecule. Now that's for reference sake. So for every ton of methanol that you make, you need 1.38 tons of CO2, and you'll need 0.19 tons of hydrogen. If you do all the calculations, I'm not going to bore you with all the calculations. These are the numbers for 800 million tons of CO2. That's what India is going to produce in maybe 5, maybe 10 years' time. Yeah, 109 million tons of green hydrogen. You know how much green hydrogen the world makes today? The world makes today about 5 million tons. Worldwide is the production of green hydrogen. More hydrogen is made, but green hydrogen. So there's a long way to go for the world to make 109 million tons just to consume all the CO2 that India will make from iron and steel only. It will need 5,000 terawatt hour. It will consume 5,000 terawatt hour of electricity. India consumes about 2,000 terawatt hour today. So it'll consume. Imagine how many more power stations will be needed. More than double. This is the amount of e-methanol that's going to be produced, 540 million tons. India is going to be flooded with methanol. India's consumption today is 2.5 million tons. I think the writing on the wall is clear. Carbon capture and utilization is not the way forward, or maybe not the only way forward. It can probably solve only part of the solution, right? Maybe for 8 million tons, not 800 million tons. Yeah, then the numbers are such that they are manageable, right? You still have a huge 792 million tons of carbon dioxide to solve. So what do you do? And we said, let's look at the blast furnace. Forget the carbon that's coming in. We'll deal with the CO2. And clearly, we just can't deal with the CO2. So we have to deal with the carbon in the blast furnace. Right? What can we do? We can replace carbon in the blast furnace with hydrogen. So hydrogen can reduce the iron ore, definitely. But hydrogen reduction of iron ore is an endothermic process, as opposed to C plus O2 being CO2 being an exothermic process. So where do you get the heat? You have to supply the heat. So H2 cannot provide heat. H2 cannot provide the burden, the support for the burden. If you look at a blast furnace, it's tall. It's about 10 stories tall. The upper part of the blast furnace is all solid with gas going through, solid containing iron ore, largely iron ore and coke. And the bottom is liquid slag and liquid metal. But if you saw liquid, why doesn't everything just fall down? It doesn't, because coke is the only thing that is solid at the bottom, and it supports entire burden of the blast furnace. Now, that coke, therefore, is needed. And while coming down, it will give CO2. In order to remove all CO2, you have to substitute that coke in the dead man, which is called the dead man. It's not a dead man, really. It's a very active zone of the blast furnace with a lot of fluid flow, but it's just called a dead man. I don't know why. So you need to have external heating and need to substitute coke in the dead man. And I'm sure some of you here will know what I'm talking about. Anybody knows what I'm talking about? Yes. Yeah, substitute coke in the dead man. And this is where CGCRI is playing a leading role. You're the only group in the world who's actually working on this, where you're trying to find out a solution, a ceramic solution for coke in the dead man. So if you can find a ceramic or a high temperature resistant substance that goes to the dead man and allows fluid flow, supports the burden, and is not coke, you've solved the problem of CO2 in iron making. But till then, CO2 remains a problem in iron making. So it could be a solid ceramic, or it could be coke coated with the ceramic, then the coating remains. Right? I don't know what the solution is. You will know what the solution is, right? In a few years' time, I'm sure. And you will be leaders in the world for that. Agricultural residue. When these stubbles are burnt, many of our cities become unlivable. Planes can't land. We can't breathe. But this same stubbles and straw can be pelletized, as here, and used in place of coal in power plants, and be used in place of coal in blast furnaces. These pellets can be converted to char. The gas can be used in blast furnaces, and the char can be used in place of coke in blast furnaces. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are green because the CO2 is in closed loop cycle. This is a technology that is relevant for India. Following what Europe is doing with hydroelectricity or nuclear in large scale to get green electricity is at a distance for India. This solves two problems for India. It solves the problem of pollution. It solves the problem of CO2 in power and steel making. What we have to do in this case is enable upscaling. The route of this material from the farmer to industry is not straightforward. The farmer has no incentive to cut the stubble and give it to an industry. It's extra cost for the farmer. There is no distribution model in place which takes the things from the farmer and sends it in large scale to industry. And I think this is an area where a government body and private enterprise can come together and work to find essentially what is a supply chain problem. You have raw materials in bulk. Harvesting is done at least 2 times a year. You have large-scale industry waiting for this raw material. We just don't have the link the pathway that links the raw material to the user. But then there's also the possibility of pumping in carbon dioxide under the ground. Many countries have tried that, sequestration. You must have heard about people trying to put carbon dioxide under the sea in spent oil wells. Right? India doesn't have oil wells easily available at the places where CO2 comes out. It's offshore, it's very expensive. But then why should we stop thinking about other possibilities? It's not us. We have a lot of basalt in the Deccan Plateau, also Dimna, the Dalma range near Jamshedpur, all of Jharkhand is standing on basalt. Basalt is a great mineralizer of CO2. If you pump CO2 into the basalt along with water, that reacts with the basalt rock and forms salts which remain underground. It's mineralization of basalt is a solution, but none of us has actually tried it. Maybe one of the CSIR labs would take this up as a project and try a solution that is indigenous, because we have huge basalt rock formations not far from where the steel industries are. Transportation of hydrogen. The hydrogen is a solution. One of the solutions is a problem. Is anybody working on hydrogen storage and transportation? You are. Somebody is. Yeah. Usually, one thinks of storing and transporting hydrogen as liquid. The problem is it takes more energy than it otherwise would. Minus 250 degrees centigrade is what it takes to keep hydrogen liquid. If you want to compress hydrogen as a gas and take it away somewhere, it will need to be compressed to 800 bar to make it commercially viable, which would mean you'll need very strong carbon fiber cylinders to do so. India does not make an ounce of carbon fiber. So you can imagine how costly those cylinders will be to take hydrogen, gaseous hydrogen away. People try and transport hydrogen in the form of ammonia, liquid ammonia. Liquid ammonia is also at minus 32 degrees centigrade. You have to maintain minus 32 degrees centigrade, needs energy. Liquid ammonia is extremely poisonous. So you need to have safety precautions. All these are known. So what is out-of-box thinking here? So there are people who have thought of capturing hydrogen in a compound form, which can be easily released either by a little heating or by a catalyst. So here is a, oops, sorry. So here is a formate bicarbonate cycle, which is being tried by a startup and is being commercialized by Mitsubishi to transport hydrogen from Philippines to Japan. Hydrogen is reacted with bicarbonate. Yeah. Water is one of the is one output, and formate is the other. It's actually all together. And so this is where hydrogen is captured. And in Philippines and in Japan, you add a sprinkling of catalyst, and you get hydrogen out and bicarbonate on the other side. And you take the bicarbonate back to Philippines, convert it to formate, bring it to Japan, get the hydrogen out, bicarbonate goes back to Japan. This happens at room temperature in water. This hydrogen can be carried in jerry cans because it's a water solution of, essentially a water solution of hydrogen. This type of out-of-box thinking is what is needed for our country. This is the type of technology that we need to adopt, where it is not an energy guzzler, where it is not poisonous and easy to handle. Let's take, I promised you I will talk, I'll constrain myself to iron, steel, and automotive. So let's talk about EV. So far, we have been dependent on one imported energy material, which is petroleum. India spends about 20 lakh crores on importing petroleum per year, and mostly goes for transportation. In the event that all petroleum cars, all petrol-driven cars go away, and we all depend on EV, we will be dependent on a whole more set of materials, which are again all imported. These are all energy materials: lithium, nickel, cobalt, high-quality manganese, and even carbon. The carbon that goes into anode in its various forms comes from China. But today, CSIR and its various labs are actually working on ways to solve this problem and indigenize these energy materials. So what do you do with all these spent batteries for which material has come from abroad? These are fresh raw materials for the next generation of batteries. So work on recycling of batteries, recycling of electronic waste. So I know, for example, IMMT and NML are working. I don't know if CGCR is working on any form of recycling, but not everybody has to. Yeah, the CSIR is working strongly on recycling. Yeah, so CCRI also is working on it. Manganese dioxide is, we have a lot of manganese mines, and there's a lot of manganese reject that lies. So there's a proven technology where this spent or waste manganese dioxide can be upgraded to battery grade manganese dioxide and battery grade manganese. And this work is being done at CCRI. Carbon that we import from a neighboring country at a large cost, that carbon can actually come from the waste product of the steel plant, which is the pitch that comes from the coal tar of the coke ovens. It's only that we have not worked hard enough to upscale that technology to commercial levels from a pilot scale. And I think this is where it is important, just like in the previous cases where CSIR is working actively with industry. Here also, CSIR works actively with industry to upscale this technology, make this technology indigenous, and upscale it to commercial levels. We get carbon for battery anodes from the steel plant rejects of this country. We talked about hydrogen, and this is hydrogen in the context of automotive. Steel doesn't need very pure hydrogen. So it doesn't actually need SOEC. But automotive needs pure hydrogen. Therefore, it needs electrolyzers for pure hydrogen. Most of the existing electrolyzers are low efficiency, 50%, 55% efficiency. So cost of hydrogen is high. It's difficult to drive down the cost of hydrogen from the existing $5 per kilogram. But if you use SOEC with its inherent 80% efficiency, use the SOEC at places where extra waste heat is available, like in process plants, like steel plants, you can actually increase its efficiency to be close to 100%, or even cross 100% depending on the temperature. I think that is the solution for electrolyzers in the future. I was glad to hear today in the discussion with the heads of departments that you're putting up a 16 kilowatt, 16 first phase, 32 kilowatt second phase electrolyzers. In India, a company, this is a British company, Ceres Power, has just brought in a 5 kilowatt electrolyzer in Bangalore to be tried out. But then glad to see you've beaten that 5 kilowatt. Excellent. And I think it's Kumi has taken that, has taken partnered on the technology. Good luck to CGCRI on that. It's really a technology that is meant for the future. How many have heard of white hydrogen or gold? They're the same. White hydrogen and gold hydrogen are the same. You know, when we were in school, we used to learn that hydrogen is a colorless, odorless gas. It's no longer so. Hydrogen has all sorts of colors: blue, green, black, gray. and even now white and gold. So white hydrogen is what is actually available naturally in the earth, especially where olivine, that form of iron oxide, iron ore, exists. Water reacts with olivine, makes serpentinite and hydrogen. And this hydrogen comes out through fissures. Now, of course, it's a colorless or odorless gas. Most of the time, you don't see it unless somewhere it catches fire. And it's not methane, but people think it is methane many times. But it catches fire, and then people say, oh, there's some gas coming out from underground. In many places, it has, in Europe, in South America, in Africa, it has been prospected. And people have found patches where hydrogen is coming out, leaking out of the earth. Many places they form what are called fairy circles like this. This is in Brazil. It's a fairy circle. Hydrogen is seeping out from this circle. And there's so much hydrogen that trees don't grow, right? So there are plenty such spots in the world. In France, they have put a pipeline now that will carry this hydrogen to commercial use. In India, we have not prospected for this hydrogen. With the amount of iron ore mines that are available, I will not be surprised if hydrogen is also available. We have just not looked for it. So this is an area which, in a country that is iron ore rich, we must look, we must find, we must explore and establish this source of hydrogen. This is free. This will transform energy, and this will transform sustainable technologies. Sticking to automotive, it's not only about energy at the front end that drives the car, it's also the drive that converts that energy into motion. So the drivetrain, the more efficient the drivetrain is, the less energy you will consume. Today, the drivetrain in an EV is controlled by motors, and the motors are controlled by electrical steels and magnets. India does not make high quality electrical steels. India does not make magnets. I mean, this is again refrain on many material issues India doesn't make. This is an opportunity for India. And the opportunity comes in this way. How many people know that there are two types of, there can be many, but two major types of motors, radial flux motors and axial flux motors? I didn't know. I had to read about this. Axial flux motors are far more efficient, as you can see in this graph, the red line, efficient. The loss is less at high frequencies. This fan rotates at about 400 RPM. The electric vehicle motor for the wheel rotates at about 10,000 RPM. That's high frequency. At that high frequency, an axial flux motor is much more efficient, uses much less energy than the conventional radial flux motor. But why do we not convert to axial flux motors? Because it's much easier to make radial flux motors. You take have you seen motor stampings of electrical steels? They're like round with holes in them, and they're all stacked up. That's easy. You just, boom, you make a press, and you stack it up and bind them, that's it. Axial flux motors cannot be worked that way. Each sheet is of a different size, different shape. So therefore, it's more expensive, difficult to make, and therefore nobody likes to use it. What is the solution? The solution is use powder, use iron powder. So instead of sheet, this is a disruptive change, use iron powder particles which are insulated. This reduces the thickness. This also enables you to alloy the iron powder to the extent that you want it to be alloyed. And you get axial flux motors with much higher efficiency. And this iron powder of the quality that is needed is not made in India. In a magnet, for example, you have neodymium, boron, and iron. People forget about iron. Neodymium is imported, boron is imported, and therefore we talk about critical minerals. The iron that goes into the magnet is ultra pure. It's either Aramco iron or it is iron that is made from an electrolytic process or a very poisonous process. None of these are made in India. But the iron that you see here is coming from the top of a hot rolled coil, which is just acid leached before cold rolling. Today, this iron powder on the left here goes for paint on all your flower pots. The red paint on the flower pots are this iron oxide. But if you treat it, you get ultra fine iron powder and ultra pure iron powder because it's absolute surface. It's pure. It doesn't have all the alloying elements that are in the substrate. And this becomes the base matrix for magnets, the base matrix for electric steels and electric core of motors. And you can make them using compression. So they're called soft magnetic composites. And I don't know, anyone into magnetics here? No. So you have the ferrite magnets, which cover a large frequency range but have low magnetic flux density. Or you have high magnetic flux density with high silicon steels, but do not cover large frequency range. With this material, you can cover both. And today, with the rejects of a steel plant which goes into painting flower pots, you can actually make magnets for electric vehicles and replace imports from neighboring countries. That enables electric vehicles to run more efficiently. That reduces energy needs, and that gives you sustainability. I've come to the last part of my talk, so I will not bore you any further, a little bit further. All these ideas to be taken to fruition, they need an ecosystem for nurturing. Idea gets born, idea gets worked upon in the lab, that working idea gets upscaled to a demo, and then somebody notices it and takes it away to full commercialization as an industry. It can be shown as a funnel because usually the number of ideas that are born and the number of ideas that get to final commercialization are vastly different. The more ideas born, very few ideas go to commercialization. So it's a funnel. But at every handover, usually low TRL, low technology readiness level ideation at a basic research level that's born in universities. And that is why I think, Professor Basu, you were mentioning that we need to interact more with universities so that you can get these ideas and push them through to demo scale and beyond. So this is where you would work as CSIR, take ideas, upscale them, make them ready for industry. And this is where industrial adoption happens, where in my previous work as in a large industry, we would bring that up and take that forward to full scale. But each handover is a death point. The handover does not happen. It's like a relay race. Somebody hands over the baton, but if there's nobody to take up the baton falls and there's a valley of death. The ecosystem must ensure that this valley of death is systematically and systemically covered. So various organizations, various countries have worked on how to deal with these valleys of death. And whichever way you look at it, the original ideas come from universities. And these universities ideally should not stop here. They're remnant throughout because the ideation needs partnership. The intermediate organization like CSIR picks up from universities. So this is exactly the point you were making. You need to have roots in university. Your peak appears in the mid-TRL level, and then there's a handover to industry, because you cannot, CSIR as the lab cannot take it to full commercialization. You need a helping hand, and it's a commercial activity where industry, startups, and venture capitals come. Usually people say industry, but I must point out here that there is a huge role of startups and venture capitals. Many of these ideas are still ideas. They need fund which are high risk investments. They need funds which are also patient investments. These are high risk, patient investments. Very few corporate industries will actually put money in these ventures. But the venture capital system with startups is designed to put money into high risk, patient ideas. And therefore, I think when you talk about handshaking with industry, you should also be talking simultaneously about handshaking in the form of startups with venture capitals. Because that's where you're going to get money which is tolerant to high risk and is tolerant to patience. In countries like UK and Germany, you already mentioned Fraunhofer. They have systems that overcome the valleys of death. You have the EPSRC system that funds low TRL ideas. You have catapults that span universities up to industry. In Germany, you have the Helmholtz, the Max Plancks at the low TRL, and then you have the Fraunhofers which span exactly like the catapult. Actually, catapults copied from Fraunhofers. And industry, of course, pulls from here. It pulls from here, being co-located many times with the universities and with the catapults, with the Fraunhofers. We have clear demarcations in our country. I think what is needed in our country is strong bridging of the valleys of depth. Unless we face the reality, we don't make changes. I think similar to catapults and Fraunhofers, we need to extend, like you said, into universities, but also this way. And industrial R&Ds and startups and the venture funds need to extend this way, which I don't think we do enough. We don't do enough of that in the industry today in India. But we should not all just depend on the ecosystem. There's something that we as individuals need to do also. I mean, there's an ecosystem, but unless an individual is passionate, ambitious about ideas, no idea will ever get born or move forward. All these systems move because there are passionate people behind ideas. Do you know what this idea is? This wild idea related to sustainability. We talked about CO2 in the atmosphere. As the atmosphere heats up, water temperature in the oceans go up. Oceans are our largest reservoir of CO2. And unlike most solubilities, CO2 solubility in water increases as temperature decreases. So which means if water becomes warmer, it actually gives out more CO2. So as the world becomes warmer, more CO2 comes out from the oceans. So somebody came up with the idea to cool the ocean, bring its temperature down. It absorbs more CO2 from the air. And how will you cool an ocean? Put an umbrella, but you need a large umbrella. You can do with a small umbrella if you put it high enough, right? So they thought about putting an umbrella whose shadow will fall on Earth. So you can position it in such a way that it can put a shadow on large part of an ocean and cool it down. And in the process, help in reducing the temperature of the water, decreasing CO2 in the atmosphere. The thought, right? It's the thought. This is not my imagination. This is not just one paper. This is reported by New York Times and is an active project in NASA. Okay. So it's at the individual level, irrespective of what ecosystems you have. It's the individual passion that drives systems and technology. You know who this is, right? Who doesn't know who this is? I mean, everyone knows it. Elon Musk. Who is this? Trick question. Sorry? No. Good try. Even if I tell you the name, you will not recognize. It's Wang Chuangfu. Who knows? Nobody knows. He founded a company in 1990s with a dream to make the best electric vehicle in the world. He didn't have the money. So he started with the next best thing, which is to make the battery. He didn't have the money to make car batteries. So he started with the next best thing. He started making calculator batteries. From calculator batteries, he progressed to watch batteries. Then he progressed to car batteries. In 2004, after about 11, 12 years, he made his first electric car. In 2007, 8, they were bad. They were so bad that in 2011, when people came to see his factory, there were 2 lines of cars in the production lines, and there were 2 lines of cars in the repair line. So each car had to be repaired after production. They were so bad. In 2014, he went to Audi in Germany. He talked to the chief engineer of Audi and said, you have to displace yourself from Germany and come and sit with me in Shanghai. You can imagine what the German would have said. He raised the bar. He said, give me this much, give me that much. I said, what else? He said, oh, I can't do everything alone. You have to take my team with me. He said, how big is your team? He said, 100 people. Done. He uprooted the entire engineering department of Audi and shifted it to Shanghai. 2014. 2024, he beat Tesla. Do you know who this is? He's the founder of BYD. BYD, you know? Yeah. He's the founder of BYD. Such is passion. Right? So this is Tesla. And this is BYD going up. And in last quarter of 2023, BYD beats Tesla in electric vehicle sales worldwide. BYD today ships so many vehicles from China to the rest of the world that they make their own ships. BYD now makes car transporting ships because they need so many cars to be transported out. So the essence of the story is there's enough problem to be solved. We cannot just copy ideas from the rest of the world and follow those ideas and make them applicable to India. We need to come up with solutions that are relevant to us. Of course, we need an ecosystem which helps us. But I think most importantly, we need that passion and the gumption to follow those ideas to be successful. So my message to all of you, besides my heartfelt thanks for the invitation and allowing me to speak here, is be bold. Thank you very much.
So,
Are there question answers? Do I need to stand here?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
yes.
A spellbounded audience forced to think for their existence. और अस्तित्व हमारा जो है प्रश्न चिन्ह के सामने है. आपके मन में जो प्रश्न है वो आप कर डालिए.
So, hands up.
Yes.
I don't think that I need a microphone.
No, you probably need, because then otherwise people online may not be able to hear you.
Okay, fine. I'm a little hesitant to ask my first question, sir. Are you the same Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, who in his master's thesis worked with Professor K.P. Gupta of metallurgy and defended his thesis in the ground floor of ACMS conference room?
I am.
Thank you. I hope you.
I know. I didn't spot you in the audience. I can.
I got an invitation from Professor Basu at the late hours. I was a little late, but it was just at the beginning of your opening ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see.
Actually, yeah, after nearly 2 decades.
More.
Yeah, around 2002 we came to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to meet you. And the next hesitation is, how do I address you? I'm really. I have a lot of questions, but I believe other distinguished guests, they also have. This is an open invitation on my personal behalf, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, to visit my institute, NIT Rourkela, because I want my institute to be motivated by you. Time is yours, call is yours. If you say yes, my director, Professor K.U.M. Rao, will be only too glad to call you.
Of course, I'd
Thank you.
say yes. Thank you. I love visiting NIT Rourkela.
Yeah, you had been. Your friend, Professor B.C. Roy, is still working.
You're also my friend.
Thank you for acknowledging me. Anyway, I will talk later something about, I'm planning on February 20th.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
We spoke.
Huh?
We spoke, no? On that?
Yeah, we spoke. I messaged you.
Yeah.
And well, there are other questions, relevant question. Mine is very irrelevant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice, just mind-blowing. I have two, to discuss with you about this electrified SMR, because this electrified SMR,
yes,
that is also coming from European Union to India very shortly. And as on date, only one company in Europe, Denmark, this Haldor, is having the monopoly for this. What is your opinion about this?
I'm not able to hear. I don't know why.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know that regarding this electrified SMR, which has approximately half down the line of CO2 emission per kg of H2, like 5.5.
That's because it is green electricity.
Green electricity coming. So what is your thoughts in terms of Indians' perspective? Because electrified SMR is not very well known. This is the first question. And second question is this, in comparison with the other like electrolyzers and on, hydrogen ice is also one of the very, very important. Yes. And what is your thoughts regarding the hydrogen ice in perspective of the NOx? Because that is one of the most critical. And what is your perspective on this too?
So I think hydrogen ice is a great way forward. How you store that hydrogen is an issue, because hydrogen ice I had seen in 2003-04 being used, and the hydrogen was being carried as liquid hydrogen in the car. That needs energy. Yeah, I don't think a liquid hydrogen movement is a solution. So if we can do ice with hydrogen but not carry liquid hydrogen, which would mean carry an SOEC on board, right? Or if you have that sort of a solution where you have, that bicarbonate solution, that's a solution. Something similar, but carrying something that will anyway guzzle electricity energy to keep itself in that state, or ammonia, which will also need at minus. Those are not solutions for ice.
And also for this hydrogen liquid LH2 storage, it has a hydrogen boil-off problem because of the orthopara conversion for cryocoolings. And what's your thoughts for this ESMR? Because we are trying to take up for this phase 2 for CSIR.
See, SMR, after all, it's converting methane, steam methane reforming. So, and your output is what? What is on the right-hand side of the equation? Sorry? CO2. Exactly. So what do you do with that CO2?
Again, this
because the methane is still a fossil fuel methane.
Yes.
So that CO2 is a fossil fuel CO2.
Correct.
It is not like an agri-waste CO2.
No, that's whatever you have shown for this biomass.
So this has no short loop cycle.
Short loop.
So you're left with a CO2 in any form of SMR. So you're not solving the CO2 problem here. You're solving the heat problem.
Heat problem and this immanent of CO2 per kg usage down the line might be high.
It doesn't become zero.
And that's the reason maybe European Union is not investing much money on this.
Any SMRs will have that problem.
Yeah.
Any SMRs, you're stuck with the fossil fuel CO2.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can ask while they take the mic there.
Thanks for the excellent speech. I come from IIT Roorkee. No, IIT Roorkee.
Yeah.
So we have in the Uttarakhand a peculiar problem.
A material problem.
A peculiar problem.
Peculiar problem.
Okay, with respect to forest.
Yeah.
Okay, we have so much of pine trees.
Yeah.
Rich in that area, and the dry pine leaves or the needles, which actually cover entire forest, and then they are found to be very dangerous. They will catch the fire immediately. So there are certain industries, MSMEs, you can say, which actually do this briquetting, and then supply to small scale industry for the heat. Now, with respect to the blast furnace and all, what you are suggesting agriculture needs, these kind of residues from the forest can also be taken. My question is with respect to the calorific value. Yeah. Would it be sufficient to actually cater for the needs of such a huge furnace like blast furnace?
So whatever agricultural or any biomass pellet that goes in, biomass product that goes in, whether it's a raw pellet like this one I showed, or whether it's a char that goes in, you have to work out the calorific value and ash content. So a calorific value can come down with ash content high. But if the ash content is low, this will be. So the three things are absolutely important: calorific value, ash content, and water, moisture. Now, if they are adverse, it's not the end of the world. You can mix it with other things. You can mix it with peanut husk, peanut shell. You can mix it with rice husk. Rice has very good calorific value for a given ash content. So you can actually mix the product that you have if it is adverse. But I don't know what the calorific value of that product is. So if you can find out, if it is good, great, it can go. Now, it can go provided the transportation cost is economically viable. So ideally, the cost of this is bearable if the radius of application is about 300 kilometers. You will not find in Uttarakhand a steel plant within 300-mile radius. You may find power plants. Any coal-fired power plant will be able to use it, right? So the solution is find those three: ash, water, and the calorific value, and find a user within 300 kilometers radius, right? If it is adverse, those three parameters, mix it with something, and it can be used. Yeah.
For that problem what he is referring to, because as you told that in a steel making we require where fiber content strength is also very high. So bamboo or woody biomass, that wherever woody biomass is there, that place we get more calorific fallow.
Yeah.
And this type of biomass, as you rightly suggested, that it has to be mixed with bamboo or on that. But there is other way alternative that this type of biomass with less calorific value, first it has to be used for other purpose. One technology what we demonstrated to Navrangpur is that you take any biomass from the leaf or some whatever you tell, and it will give you a pellet with a little bit of moisture based on the moisture content. Then it will give you a fire. 4 kg of pellets will give you 1.5 hour of a smokeless fire by which you can do cooking.
Yeah.
But if you are putting the same pellet to the fluoridized bed, then it will give you biochar, which can go to the steel industry.
Biochar and gas.
Biochar. The second thing will gas. Gas you can use for cooking.
Correct.
And third thing is the liquid that gives you the organic fractions and the tar, biotar.
Yeah.
So this is the whole process. So it is a combination. Sir just told whatever the hydrogen generation process, it has been used in a mix. It cannot be alone. One cannot be a solution.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for your wonderful lecture on this subject. One thing I wanted to ask is that there is one more like solution that has been offered by a few countries is synthetic fuel. And with so many ICE vehicle running currently on the road in India, it is very difficult to convert each and every one of them into electric or hydrogen powered. So how do you think the future will look for the e-fuel solution for the ICE vehicle?
You saw the e-methanol numbers?
Yeah.
Do they look cheap?
Yeah, but few we need to change a lot of components in the ICE vehicle to make it comply with that.
So it is that's see, the solution is in economics. The technologies are known, for example, DME or eDME is the technology is available to get DME from this methanol or even e-ethanol, which is like a diesel replacement. But the issue will be cost. What is the cost of the synthetic fuel vis-a-vis what is the capital cost of replacing all the equipment and running it on battery or hydrogen, right? And because it is cost dependent, it's also therefore geography dependent. In certain geographies where this conversion to e-fuels will be cheaper because of whatever reasons. Yeah, green electricity is cheaper. It's essentially electricity dependent, and so on and so forth. Middle East, for example, there it may make sense. But in a country like ours, we have really no option. Our electricity is only about 40% green right now. It's only 40% green out of the 2000 terawatt hour. We have a long way to go. It is not going to be green. It's not going to be cheap. Therefore, the synthetic fuel that we make is not going to be economically that viable at the moment. So if you look at the regulations that are coming in, that the regulatory advices are 5%, 10% in the full mixture. Right? The 5% ethanol, 10%. You can actually run it on ethanol, but it's going to be extremely expensive, right? If you regulate that. So the answer to your question is you need to work out not from the technology perspective, but from the local economics perspective. And for every country, the answer will be different. And your car cannot be made different for different countries. It can be made different for a different region, left-hand drive and right-hand drive, like. But you can't change every car for every region, right? So they will, the status quo in an automobile will be difficult to change. So you will only have a creeping encroachment of synthetic fuels, not a major encroachment of synthetic fuel.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for such a mind-blowing session.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
go that side with the mic, because I will say that.
Mike.
My name is Shantanu Bhattacharya. I am from the Ceramic Department, National Institute of Technology, previously which was known as Regional Engineering College, Rourkela. Our department was founded in 1994 by Professor B.N. Samadar after he retired from College of Ceramic Technology as principal. He was invited by AICTE. But a building needs 4 pillars. And as you know, when you plant a sapling during the initial years, you need to be extremely protective, very careful. Otherwise, there will be chances that it will be eaten up or destroyed by others. My department was extremely fortunate to get those 4 pillars in the formative stage where the situation was extremely critical, and there were times when we were almost on the verge of being merged with the other departments. There were times, there were talks. And those 4 pillars were Professor B.N. Samadar, Professor J.D. Panda, Director DISIR. Old people may know him. Professor H.S. Maiti and Professor R.K. Sinha, who joined there as professor and head in 1997. I know how protective they were, how caring they were. Professor Maiti was our Board of Studies member for quite some time. In 2011 also he joined there for 3 years, I believe. Ever since I recently, one of my colleagues, Professor Debashish Sarkar, contacted him. Basically, on February 20th, I'm from 20 to 25, I'm going to conduct a short-term course, which may be a nanometer or nanoscale relevance with the talk Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya is given. I have already circulated the flyer to Professor Bikramjit Basu. It's on identification and control of defects in the pre-fired industrial and advanced ceramics, effect on cost, energy, and carbon emission. Okay. So, Dr. Bhattacharya, I think this is also to some extent relevant because firing involves carbon emission, and in the refractories, Dr. H.S. Tripathi will say that where CCR contains a lot of alumina carbon, after carbon tempering also they give off, and there is a lot of rejection in sanitary ware, etc. So I'm trying to bring in the people over there. But Maiti sir, I'm extremely honored, sir. আপনি কেমন আছেন? আমি শুনলাম আপনার সঙ্গে অনেক দেখা হলো। Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's time to felicitate our guests and dignitaries. So I would request our director to come on the stage and felicitate them. First of all, our distinguished lecturer, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya. Sir, it's a small gesture of gratitude. I would request Dr. H.S. Maiti. Sir, please. Dr. Kamal Dasgupta. Sir, please. Dr. Ramanuj Narayan. Sir, please.
I would now request Dr. Shunirmal Jana, Chief Scientist, CGCRI, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, all of you. It is my proud privilege and honor to deliver a vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion of first Platinum Jubilee Distinguished Lecture, a curtain raiser program of Platinum Jubilee celebrations of CSIR-CGCRI. First and foremost, on behalf of the organizing committee and also on my own behalf, I sincerely thank and express my gratitude to Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Professor of Practice, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and former Vice President, Technology and R&D Tata Steel, for accepting our invitation and delivering an important speech highly required to our research community, those who are working on the energy area, towards making our nation an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your speech. We are grateful to our Director General, Dr. L. Kolai Selvi, RC Chairman, Professor Ashutosh Sharma, our ex-directors, Dr. Suman Kumari Misra, and Dr. K. Muralidharan, for their best wishes through their messages, invaluable messages on this curtain raiser program of Platinum Jubilee celebrations. I also extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to Dr. H.S. Maiti, our ex-directors and mentor, for his kind presence and to deliver an inspirational speech. Sir, your speech will surely help us for advancing our research. Our sincere thanks and gratitude to our director and chairman of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, Professor Vikramjit Basu. We are grateful to you, sir, for your kind advice, guidance, support, and encouragement in the various stages of the event. I am grateful to the directors of our sister laboratory, Dr. Ramanuj Narayan, Director IMMT Bhubaneswar, for his kind presence to enrich the program. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to Mr. Kamal Dasgupta, former acting director, ex-head FOPD, and ex-chief scientist, for his gracious presence. Also, our ex-director, IC Dr. K. Muralidharan and Dr. Suman Kumari Misra, who joined and enriched the program. Also, Professor B.V. Manoj Kumar, Professor IIT, who is visiting as visitor under Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Thanks to all the Platinum Jubilee celebration core committee members for their valuable suggestions for the event. This program would not be successful without the help rendered directly or indirectly by our R&D support services divisions, engineering services division, instrumentation and information technology division, director secretariat, business development and publication division, administrations, finance and accounts, as well as stores and purchase. Last but not the least, we are thankful to all our colleagues and students, including our Khurda and Naroda centers, for their cooperation and participation, either physically or virtually. Once again, heartfelt thanks to all of you. Jai Hind.
On the occasion of the Platinum Jubilee celebration of CGCRI, we have organized for a logo designing competition where this logo has won the first prize. It has been designed by Shorbosri Datta, SRF, ACSIR. She will be felicitated in the next event. With this, we conclude today's program. I request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे